So hey friends, it's 11 p.m. and I had to stop into my house to pick up some dongles and in general just get ready for work. But I'm actually glad that I did because we just got a new headset in and I'm actually pretty excited because it might help me with my conferences tomorrow. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because we've done a lot of headphones in the past that I've used at work, but they're just not ideal for all those instances. So like we've done a lot of gaming headsets, right? Those are better than over here because they have the dedicated microphone. However, they're just not as portable. And sometimes the ones that I pick have like crazy colors or crazy lights, or they have big ear pads that overheat over time. So like they're just not the most sleek things and not the best look in office. So I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be overly distracting. So I tend to not bring gaming headsets to my office. And then obviously you have earbuds, and yes, those are serviceable, but you know, you get ear fatigue over time, especially if you're on an all-day conversation. It sucks. Earwax builds up and all that sort of stuff. And microphones aren't the best usually. There's a few exceptions, but generally you can do better from an audio quality perspective. And then we've actually been testing a lot of open ear recently, which I've actually personally liked because of the fact that they work extremely well for work. I thought it was only going to be for errands and working out, but at work it's cool to be able to hear things coming through. It's cool not to have earbuds or ear cups around you, so you have some air running past your ears so you're not overheating. And actually people's voices on conferences sound relatively nice, and it has a nice fuller tone because of that extra space that's around your ear. So this is surprising that I like them so much. The mics usually are trash, not gonna lie. So when I saw this from Eksa, this is a Kickstarter campaign that's coming out soon. Their S30 is an open ear with a swing arm microphone that I can adjust. So this is perfect. This is actually what I would like. This is the hybrid that I was looking for. It's been a while since I've seen this form factor, but I just really haven't seen anyone do it in a true wireless form that's pretty portable. So this one can be used true wireless. No band, no wires getting in the way. You can use it on a battery, you can use it on Bluetooth. I don't have to connect it to a computer. So there's a lot of freedom here that I'm going to test the crap out of. So I'm really excited to test this in office. So I'm gonna finish getting ready, but the first positive is it comes with this hard case, and it's gonna make it really easy to throw in the bag and protect it. So I'm gonna finish getting ready, but I'll see you guys in office. All right, so we have the case in hand now. I will say that I do like it because it does have this carabiner, so if you have too much in your bag, you can just clip it to a handle or something. You do have that option, but the hard case is pretty nice. So as we get in, you see that you have the charging dock plus the earbuds or headphones, however you want to call it, and then also a USB-A to USB-C cord. A little dated here, but you know, it'll work. You can always exchange it for your own USB-C to USB-C cord, and that'll be fine. So as we take this out of the case, it does have a rubberized bottom, really good for keeping steady on the table, but you will need to take out the plastic pieces. I did that just so we could save some time on this video, but those contacts will need to be there so that it'll fit inside the case. And the magnets on these are pretty strong. I do like that, so they don't jostle around. They slot into place exactly how they should. So let's charge this guy because I did not have a chance to do that earlier. So we'll give it some time and then we'll try this. Let's try it in about an hour. So I'll see you guys then. Alright, so we're all charged up. We'll press the little button there on the base to get the syncing started, so you'll see some flashing lights, but once it gets off of that cycle, it'll go into a blue. And that blue kind of blinks every now and then, but it's not too distracting. There's a little light there that you'll notice that'll show you that you're connected to your phone. But trying these on, they're actually pretty comfortable. They have like a nice fit, and they flex around a little bit. Not completely bendable, I don't think. Let's see. No, but they do, you know, bounce back pretty well. They're placed in the right part of the ear and they don't shake off, so they have a secure fit. Overall, I like these. They feel pretty light. There's not much to complain about it, and the swing arm comes out without the earbud coming out, so that's nice. I also noticed that they have like a mute button there, but let's try these on with my phone and see how these sound. So to give you a good perspective here, I'm just using the Google Pixel 8 Pro's native microphone. So if I was on speakerphone talking to someone on the phone, this is essentially what it would sound like. Again, it's not going to be the best in comparison to other dedicated mics, but they do a pretty good job. But I wanted to give you guys a good baseline. So now as we move to Den Pearl Pros, these are some of my favorite headphones because they have good ANC and all these other things, but they are also decent on the mic front. So these are some of the better mics I've seen out of true wireless earbuds, but you will see that there's some peaking because of the air conditioner and white noise machine because it's trying to sap those noises out. But I will move over to the Eksa right now. Okay, so now we're on the Eksa S30s. Obviously, this has a dedicated mic right in front of my face, so it should sound better. The thing I will say is that it won't swing down right in front of you like a gaming headset, so you won't be able to get the most intimate sound on your voice, especially if you want to make some emphasis, but it's still pretty loud even with the placement on the microphone. There is some slight bend to it, so if you do need to make adjustments, you can to make sure that the microphone's placed in the right spot against your cheek, as well as the fact that it swings up and down to adjust for mouth placements and facial structures and things like that. Overall, I do think it sounds pretty good. There's a slight digitization, but it's pretty natural sounding, actually. The thing I really like is the fact that, again, we have an air conditioner, white noise machine behind me, and all that is sort of impacting the sound. But for this one, it's actually relatively clear, and it's doing a good job at sapping out that sound without affecting my voice, which is super, super solid. This is something that I really want to test in a more louder scenario. Obviously, this is going to make it really good for office. So even if there's people talking around you, there's white noise around, it's going to be great for calls. Your audience is not going to get distracted. However, I want to see if I'm going like doing a walk, like if I'm going to do a conference call in the walk, taking a walk, or just get doing errands and things. Will people be able to still hear me talk when there's like construction or weather around? So maybe later tonight or tomorrow when I head over to Samika's, I'll do some testing over there because there's some construction in her neighborhood. So I'll see how well the noise cancellation works, but hopefully this guys gives you a good understanding of how this sounds. The one other thing I want to do before we wrap this is that you see this button here? That is a mute button. So if I click this, I'll show you what the audio tone sounds like. When you click it, you'll hear it, but your audience won't. But when I click it, and now that the microphone's back on, you guys can't hear of all the crap I just talked about you because I have that control on my earpiece here. I have complete understanding of when I'm audible and when I'm not audible. But I would never talk crap about you guys. I love you guys. But hopefully I give you a good understanding of how these react on the microphone front. I do need to do some more listening in terms of audio quality on calls and with music. So let's do that now. Okay, so playing with these a little bit more, the weights on the back are actually really good at keeping the earbud really balanced on your ear, making sure it stays in the right place. So I don't really fidget with it, trying to get it in the right situation to fit on my ear and put it into the ear hole the proper way. The weighting is perfect on these. The other thing I noticed is that for music, I've been using mostly Polyphia just to get understanding of instruments and where this works in terms of separation, and it's really good. So again, like we've seen with the open ears, it brings a nice characteristic of sounds coming in very naturally, things separating very nicely, giving the nice sound stage to it with that extra sound. So overall, I'm liking it so far. Obviously, I'll give you guys a little bit better understanding of this later in the review, but overall, love it so far with Polyphia. The other thing I want to notice is that there are controls there that will work outside of the phone call. So if you want to use single press, it'll play pause your music or answer a call. Press and hold, again, left will be volume down, right will be volume up. And then double press will do assistant, and triple press will call the last person that you called. So there are some controls that allow you to use it for the phone. The biggest problem is I don't see any change tracks. So if you're just using this outside of a call, trying to change tracks between your calls and stuff like that when you're listening to music, there's not that function currently. So I'm still trying to talk with the company to see if they have that or if that's coming in a firmware update. But right now, no change in track, which is unfortunate. But otherwise, all the other controls work pretty well. The buttons are pretty tactile, and I like that. Thing to notice here is that usually I think I have to be around 70% to really hear the music, and I can even go to 100 without blasting out my ears because of the open nature. But keep in mind that this is going to leak. And you might have been hearing this entire time, but these do leak sound. So if you're next to a partner or working in the same place, you want to be cognizant of that. So 70 is probably where I live around and people can't hear that. But if you do blast to 100, make sure you're in your own office like I am. But yeah, be considerate of others. Let's keep testing these.
super rainy here in Boston, but I just got done with packages, which I had to get out. Otherwise, the people at StockX aren't going to be happy. But hopefully you guys can hear this. There's a lot going on because I'm around like the hospital area. But I wanted to give you guys an outdoor sample of how this sounds. I guess I can test the waterproofness. I don't think this has a waterproof rating on it, but it should be all right for a little bit of light sprinkle. But it is loud. There's a lot of cars. There's wind. There's rain. There's construction. There's hospital things. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully this gives you a good understanding of how good the mics are at isolating sound. I'll have to go to a cafe and listen back to make sure it's actually isolating my voice and noise canceling things. But we'll also get some cafe samples soon. So let me run to a cafe and let's get that done. But let's talk about those outdoor samples. So listening back, it's relatively clear. There's a lot of rain and wind going on. So I'm surprised that it all came through. There was some peaking with the wind, and that's the thing that I'm saying that is probably going to be the concern for these maybe. But it's not too bad. Like I'm still clear. I'm super clear on what I can hear. It's just those little peaks that might annoy some people. And then when we get to the volume, that's when you kind of bump these to 100%. Again, like people are driving over the rain. There's a lot of cars because I was in the hospital district. And you need to be at 100%. Because if you're not, you're just not going to hear everything. Again, like on a sunny day, you'll be fine at 70%, just like it was inside the office. However, once you get to all these conditions where people are, driving over weather, you're going to need to be at 100% just to hear your music. Now as we move to the cafe, obviously, a cafe loud like this, probably not the best thing to run a conference from, but hopefully this is isolated and show you guys that its ability to isolate voice even in louder conditions. And that was like an intention of this. It wasn't to say like you should use these to like relax at a cafe or run a conference out of a cafe, but the fact that you can still be heard is the reason I want to show this area. Again, if I'm trying to listen to my music and I have a speaker this loud, you're still gonna hear it. So don't expect this to isolate for like study sessions in a cafe, but you can use it to talk to your friends or talk to your parents without any issue. They'll be able to hear you.
But before we leave, let's listen to the music, and there's whining babies in the back too. But I just want to make sure you guys have a comparison on how this sounds without the Eksas and the loud cafe. Like, speakers right there. But let's get home and look at these samples for real. So we're back at the house, and I did listen back to those samples, and I was able to isolate my voice pretty well, even despite the loud-ass speaker next to me. So I'm really impressed with the noise cancellation capabilities so far. The other thing that I noticed is when I started doing some editing and some work is that it has no lag. So, when you're editing a video, trying to scrub through it, or if you're listening to a podcast, or say watching a podcast, or watching something like on YouTube, you're not really having any lag issues, which is good because you never want that. That means it's flexible for a lot of different work streams, for your multitasking and all that sort of stuff. So really good on that front. But the other thing that was cool when I opened up my laptop was that, let me see if I can switch this guy around. It automatically connected to both. So as you can see, it's connected to my phone. It's also connected to my laptop. So multi-connect is really responsive, and actually using it during calls, it was able to pick up the differentiation between my phone and my laptop, and I was able to switch around pretty seamlessly. Not a big effort to switch between devices, multitask, and be kind of that worker. We do need to test how this sounds more on calls, but since I'm like on the bench and I'm just doing like my own productivity stuff, I'll probably rely on Samika for that to try it to her day and see how she feels about it. So I lied, I'm doing this one because Samika has a doctor's appointment and can't share her thoughts, but I'll let you guys know what she felt about it. Overall on calls, she said it sounded pretty natural. It was very nice hearing people's voices. Again, having that extra ear there was nice and not making sure things overheat. But I think she really appreciated that it was kind of more sleek than her over-ear setup that she has right now. Right now she has the MG20s that I gave her, but those are kind of bulky and sometimes doesn't always work with her hair. Obviously with, you know, curly hair, there's all those considerations how things get caught. With these ones, it's a little bit more low profile. She can hide it behind her hair, but also it's not like super cumbersome with wires and headbands to really get caught anywhere in her hair. So it's super comfortable for her. So conference-wise, it's really good. As we test this a little bit more in terms of like battery, this is gonna lock you down for sure. So if you're only using this to listen to like podcasts, listens to trainings, stuff like that, it'll last you 16 hours. And then this thing that they've given you is not just like a sync bay, it is actually a charging case. So it has an additional about 3 charges in it. So this will last you like 70 hours if you're just listening to music. Obviously that gets brought down a little if you're using it purely for conferencing, but I was able to get through like 2 days of conferencing, so probably like 4 or 5 hours per conference, and was able to not charge this thing. So super nice in terms of the battery. I don't think you should have an issue with it, and especially because it's not driving ANC and things like that. We're expecting strong battery out of this, so it should be able to, you should be able to rock this for 2 to 3 days depending on your usage without any issue. Again, if you're just using it for music with the case, you probably don't need to charge that until the end of the week. So good thing there. Distance wise, this thing is actually pretty solid. I was able to leave my phone inside my office at work and go to the cafe, which is just like, you know, I want to say like maybe 300 feet away, probably farther than that, and it's like around a corner past the wall, and it was still connected. So it was nice that I didn't have to bring my phone. I could just, you know, focus on carrying my coffee and my water and all that sort of stuff without any issues. So I don't think you should have a big issue with distance at all. So I think this is gonna rock really well with your work scenario if you want to bring it for that, anything that you might need. I think most of you going to care about how does this sound. And again, I did that whole like discography of Paula Fia, and it sounded really good. And I think especially with instrumental tracks, it just is so good at emphasizing distinctive strings, distinctive guitars, punchy bass, things like that, where there's a nice separation, and I loved the rendering through it for instrumentals. I got a little concerned when it became more vocal focused. So the first couple tracks I put on were, I think the first one was Party. It's like the new song from Apothecary Diaries on their, I think their intro. It sounds good, like in the beginning where we are building up to the chorus, but when it does full band and then the bass comes in, it gets super muddy. Well, not super muddy, it just starts taking away from the vocals, and then you can hear the mud in the bass that really kind of takes away that separation that I was hearing from the Paula Fia track. So I got really concerned from that. I tried it with another track from Good Kid from the start. Again, this is a remix. It's like a little bit more rock version of the original song, but even his vocals were a little bit more recessed, even though he is a more powerful singer. The guitar sound great, the drums punch nicely, but the problem was that his vocals were just taking a back seat when normally they're more distinctive in that song. But that's when I started playing a little round of the sound signature a little bit more, not actually EQing it, but just throwing different genres and different things at it to make sure that that was actually the case. But it might come down to a tuning thing. So like in terms of the track, so like nothing that Eksa can actually fix. Obviously they can introduce an EQ or an app like that, but from the actual master mix, it might be the issue. Because I tried a lighter singer like Asobi, and despite being lighter, she was able to come in clearly and crisp and pronounced despite having all these other instruments. So like when the full band arrangement came through, she was still the front and center piece, and I loved that on this track. And I was happy that it wasn't just like every track I was going to lose the vocals. This was further emphasized by Annalise, My Idols Lied to Me, because oof, that sounded so good. Her vocals just punch really hard, and like kind of like the pain and frustration that she has in her voice is very evident here. And then the backup guitars don't overpower her. They just are a good, nice complement to it. So she's able to power through. I mean, again, it's more of like an acapella with an acoustic arrangement, but she's able to keep the power in her voice, and the backup guitars don't get lost anywhere in the mix. So overall, the mixing is good, so it does sound good on these headphones. So that's something to consider. Again, I kept playing around with it, used it on some rap tracks, and then I was like, oh, what if heavy bass is the issue? So I did this with Mr. Easy on Tight Skin, and yeah, the bass was super messy. I did not like how it recessed his voice, but again, there was the echoing and the ethereal nature of some of his vocals were retained, but they just weren't as pronounced as they would be on another headphone. The bass just kind of overpowered it, and then it wasn't punchy in the sense that it would be tight. It just felt a little bit wobbly. But then, again, with a better mixed song like Sweet Yams by Fetty Wap, the bass was much more punchy, and his voice just killed it. He never got recessed. He was able to maintain his power in the song, and the ethereal and echoey parts of it were really well backed up by even the backup vocals. So like those came in and filled in the song nicely as they became a more full band arrangement. So there are some concerns in terms of bass and vocal presence, but from my testing, it's all sounds really good. Like again, instrumental sounds super good when there's no vocals, but when you introduce the vocals, I think it comes down to actual mixing of the track, which is interesting because, you know, some headphones are tuned so like treble and bass focused that, you know, it's very V-shaped. The mids are kind of lost. I think these ones, the mids are not lost. However, it does shine some of the characteristics of the mixing, ironically. I was not expecting these from those headphones, but you kind of hear it now when I use these, and maybe because it's the open ear nature, but big surprise there. But I'm going to give you guys some tracks so you can hear for yourself, but see what you think. So as we wrap up, obviously we're recommending these from your home, your work from home, your work, your errands. These are going to be really great, especially if you're looking for something that's more of an open ear configuration. The sound is really solid. It does bring in some nice characteristics. It's pretty well balanced overall, and I really like this over long listening sessions. Didn't get too uncomfortable, and because of how it's designed and the nice balance between the weight and the flexibility of it, it really doesn't feel like it's there. After probably like 10 minutes, it really kind of just blends into your head and you really don't feel it. Obviously, it has the swing mic on there, which is great because you can really be heard by everyone despite what might be around you. Again, construction, cafes, whatever. It does a good job about isolating without sort of digitizing your voice. So if I'm talking to friends or family, no matter where I am, if I'm mobile or if I'm at home, I know they're gonna be able to hear me clearly and they're not gonna miss up my words. Plus, with that nice mute button, I can exasperatedly sigh when I'm frustrated at work, and no one will hear that in the recording, which is awesome. I can do it, come back, feel stronger, you know, all that. But I do like how conducive it is for work, but we're not limited to that because of the fact that it sounds really solid and the fact that I can do this for a long time. 16 hours on one charge, you know, 70 all the way to the end of the week if I'm just using this for music. So like crazy long battery life, also longevity or like distance wise in terms of how far I can go. So I'm not gonna be tied down to my desk, tied down to my phone. I can walk around, be a little bit more casual, be a bit more relaxed during my work day and not having to worry about bringing all this other stuff with me. Not have to worry about cables and all that sort of stuff. So just a nice creature comfort there. But again, this is not for everyone. For people that are looking to like study in a cafe and isolate, or, you know, you're on a plane. Obviously, this is not an ANC closed back headset. Not for those purposes, but for, you know, your everyday life when you don't need that and you'd like some spatial awareness or you just want a little bit more air between your ears. These are going to be really good. The only thing that I would say that we'd probably want to improve is maybe introduce an app so that we can play around with the EQ a bit, because I did mention that sometimes vocals get, recessed and bass can be a little bit muddy. So we can't change the master track. However, we can change the EQ of the headphones. So being able to do that might allow us to get a little bit better tone out of it and be a little bit more flexible for genres. So I would love for an app to be introduced. But I think the bigger thing, the most important thing I would love Eksa to introduce for a firmware update is another gesture for next track and previous track. So again, you're conferencing, you're super solid. Every gesture you might need. On your music playback, basically everything except next track and previous track. So if you could add that in firmware, I'd love that. Just make these headsets almost perfect, and I would, use it a lot for music, just for music. Great. But I hope you guys like that. If you want to check out these headsets for yourself, I'll put it in the description so you can check it out. But, I love getting to work with new companies, and I love trying to introduce new stuff to you guys. So thank you guys so much for engaging with the content, watching everything, being able to ask me questions, because that sort of stuff helps the channel grow, as well as it helps me work with more companies and find new products that I would not normally look at. So I like being surprised, so definitely engage me in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, whether it be through comment or through a reel or through a short or something that, I can answer your question. But to my OGs, thank you guys for driving this content, always sticking with me and helping us grow so aggressively. But if you could, please comment, like, subscribe, do all things you normally do on a video that you like and love. And I'll see you guys shortly. As always, I appreciate you. Peace.